What's up, fight fans, and welcome to Cage Side Seat on MMA Weekly, the best MMA talk with the biggest names in the sport from the best seat in the house on the most trusted source for news and entertainment in mixed martial arts for almost 20 years. Cage Side Seat on MMA Weekly. I'm Jim Grieshaber. Call me Gries. You know the deal by now. And we are here finally after all this time. UFC 254. Fight week is upon us, and we are ready for you right here, Cage Side Seat on MMA Weekly. And as we always do this time of the week, we're going to bring you our gambling/odds/betting segment with Lee Sterling from Paramount Sports. Now, Lee's been on fire, man. He's won 21 out of 27 fight cards since the UFC came back in Jacksonville in May, and he's been with us every week on MMA Weekly for the last 6 weeks, building up to this huge fight between Khabib, the Eagle Nurmagomedov, and Justin the Highlight Gaethje, the undisputed champ against the interim champ in the lightweight division, number 2 and number 7 on the pound-for-pound list, getting it on Fight Island in Abu Dhabi, and we are ready to break down the fights on this card for you right now. And in honor of such a monumentous occasion, two guys from the mountains, one from Arizona, one from Dagestan, two guys who are at the pinnacle of the sport, who have beaten everybody who has come into their path, especially in recent times with Gaethje. Khabib's undefeated at 28-0. In honor of this monumentous occasion and this huge fight card, Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports has got a special deal just for you. Lee, welcome to the show. It's good to talk to you again, my friend. Why don't you let everybody know what you have for them right here this week for this huge fight card, huge deal just for our audience.
I do, and I'm excited. The only difference is we're not watching it at night. We're watching it starting in the East Coast in the morning, 10:15 in the morning. That's when the prelims start. The main card, 2 p.m. Eastern. So this is the card where you get maybe the greatest fighter of all time against maybe the guy that has the type style that can take him down. So this is what I have to offer. As you mentioned, we've won 27 fights since the UFC came back in May. 7 selections. I found 7 selections where I've looked at the matchups. I think the matchups are in our favor. The odds are in our favor. Sometimes they're off, based on public perception. $77. That would be a great price normally. If you're watching it here on MMA Weekly, if you use coupon code SAVE30, just $47. How do you get it? You go to ParamountSports.com. 7 selections, not $77, $47 if you use coupon code SAVE30, ParamountSports.com, or you can always call us here at the office. We can take your order over the phone. We'll be here starting at 7 in the morning or all day Friday, all day Thursday, ParamountSports.com, 800-400-9741.
All right, fight fans, there you have it from Lee Sterling at Paramount Sports. 7 picks for $77. Try again. Put in code SAVE30. 7 picks for $47 for UFC 254. Khabib versus Gaethje. The Eagle versus the Highlight in Abu Dhabi on Fight Island. And Lee, let's get right to the picks. We got a lot of fights to go through. Going to hit the early ones quick and then spend more time on the later ones with Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. We start at 140-pound catchweight. Casey Kenny and Nathaniel Wood. Casey Kenny, a -190 favorite, +165 for Nathaniel Wood. Two very impressive fighters who have been great lately.
2 exciting fighters. This could end up being the fight of the night. Both fighters can strike. They can grapple. They can submit. Now, why is Kenny a 190 favorite? Probably because he came into prominence and he beat an undefeated Manny Bermudez. I mean, he took control of the fight. He won the fight, no question about it, and people were shocked. So that, along with his last fight, how about this? He changed it up. He found a weakness in the guy he was fighting. Almost 40% of his strikes were leg kicks. So mainly to the body, some to the leg. I mean, he just does whatever he has to do. He started off as a wrestler, but he has everything now. And Nathaniel Wood also very skilled, can strike, can grapple, can submit. I just think you got to favor Kenny right now. We're going to look and we're going to watch what goes on this week. And just sometimes you look at the films a little bit more and watch some of the fights that they've had earlier in their career. Right now, I would favor Kenny just a little bit.
All right, Casey Kenny, it is for Lee Sterling. And Lee, next up, the actual headlining event on the prelims. And this is a good one. Two heavyweights who are both in desperate need of a win. Stefan Struve, the skyscraper, 7 feet tall. He's been around for a long time, fought a who's who in the heavyweight division, but he's lost 4 out of 5, taking on Tai Tuivasa. Everyone wants to see the Shoey. He's lost 3 in a row, has Bam Bam. Something's got to give here. Minus 120 for Struve, plus 110 for Tuivasa.
Well, who's not going to tell you that Struve's not going to retire again? He already retired once, so he might lay his gloves down. He might, who knows, take off something else. You just never know with this guy. I don't think his heart is totally in. I got to be honest with you. Tuivasa, I thought he was going to be let go after his last loss, but you know, with heavyweights, these guys they can just keep going on and on. They don't have to train as hard. They lay on each other sometimes when they get tired. Bam Bam, I think he's got to knock Struve out, or at least get on top of him and dominate the fight to win this fight here. If Struve keeps it at a distance, Struve's going to win this fight. So, I mean, Tuivasa, I'm also going to watch him on the scale. If he looks really out of shape, I'm probably going to go with Struve. I think Struve can keep him at a distance, got enough striking ability, gets on top of him. You know, he can also do some damage there also. So I favor Struve a little bit. I think in his mind, this is probably the fight that he's going to retire after. So Tuivasa probably should have been let go after his last loss. Could be interesting. Tuivasa, like I said, has to knock him out, has to get on top of him, has to do one of those two things to get the win.
7 picks for $47 with the code SAVE30, ParamountSports.com. Lee Sterling, I'm Jim Grieshaber. Cage side seat on MMA Weekly, the best MMA talk with the biggest names in the sport from the best seat in the house. Moving on to the main card at UFC 254, the light heavyweights, 14-1. Magomed Ankalaev against Ian Cutelaba at 15-5. Remember, this is a rematch from their February fight. The whole thing was a disaster. Lee's going to get into that in a minute. Minus 280 for Magomed and plus 230 for Cutelaba.
Yeah, a lot of people remember this fight. Cutelaba, I mean, what does he do? He ends up acting like he's hurt in the first fight. And he did take a couple blows, but they ended up the referee stopping the fight. And, I mean, it was such a travesty that they ended up rescheduling it. Now it's gone through a couple times. I think it's 3 different times they had it scheduled where these two guys fought again. But, I mean, I think this is going to be a great fight. You have a guy, Cutelaba, he's a guy from Moldova, and I think he might end up being the better fighter here. Now, if you watch the first 40, 50 seconds of the other fight, okay, maybe maybe he landed a couple blows here, but I think that was the game plan, to take a few blows and come back. Really good takedown defense from Cutelaba. 80% takedown defense here. His losses to Jared Cannonier and also Glover Teixeira. Nothing to be ashamed about. And Ankalaev, good fighter, but he did lose to Paul Craig. I think it was 11 seconds to go. And I'm looking at his wins and watch tapes of his wins. I don't think he has any real good wins. I think the odds are off in this fight. I'm going to take Cutelaba. I think he's plus 230. Make some big hay with this fight. Wager 100, pays 230. You wager 1,000, pays 2,300. I'm going for the big strike here. I think Cutelaba, gets the win here. This fight should be priced at minus 140, minus 150. I think the odds are way off.
That's Lee Sterling, Paramount Sports. I'm Jim Grieshaber, Cage Side Seat, the best MMA talk with the biggest names in the sport from the best seat in the house right here on MMA Weekly. Continuing along with UFC 254, Volkov and Harris at heavyweight, Whitaker and Cannonier at middleweight, and that's a big one, #1 contenders matchup, and the title unification at lightweight, Gaethje and Khabib Nurmagomedov still to come. But right now, Lee, moving on with the main card. Women's flyweight, it was supposed to be Lauren Lucky Murphy against Cynthia Calvillo. Now it's Lauren Murphy against Lilia Shakarova, making her UFC debut at plus 195 against Murphy at minus 240. Brand new opponent for her right here on Fight Week, and a huge opportunity for Shakarova to shock the world.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for Shakarova, but she's not going to shock the world here. She's not any good. I watched a couple of her fights. She is 4-0. She has all of 4 fights. Her one loss was to someone who was known special at all, someone with a record of 4-4. All she does is go for takedowns. I mean, she has no stand-up game at all. And I've studied Lauren Murphy, known her well. Lauren Lucky Murphy's a different fighter the last 3 years, so you can't judge her based on before 2017. Since 2017, 2018, she's a different fighter. She's dedicated herself. She is going to be able to stay on her feet here. Her takedown defense is excellent, and that's what her opponent's going to try to do, take her down. She's only been taken down once in the last 3 fights. So Lauren Murphy hits hard. She has great cardio. She can do ground and pound. She may not knock her out. She may not submit her, but she's going to win the fight here. This is an easy winner. Lauren Lucky Murphy, minus 240. Take it to the bank. Easiest win of the night.
Lee says go with Lauren Murphy. Go with the chalk all the way. The big-time favorite with Calvillo out of the fight is Lauren Lucky Murphy over Lilia Shakarova, who wants to shock the world, but a big underdog there if you feel like taking a chance and going against Lee Sterling. But I definitely wouldn't recommend that, the way that he's been picking fights for us here on Cage Side Seat. Lee, moving on to the co-main, and really there are 2 main events on this card with Whitaker and Cannonier and Khabib and Gaethje, which we're going to get to in just a couple of minutes. UFC 254 Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. Our next matchup is at heavyweight. Alexander Drago Volkov against Walt the Big Ticket Harris, making his second appearance at heavyweight after moving up from light heavyweight. His first one didn't go so well as he was finished by Alistair Overeem. Harris, though, a boxer, 13-8 with 13 knockouts, was freshly mourning the murder of his stepdaughter, Anaya Blanchard. Who could forget that story? And our heart goes out to Walt Harris, and rest in peace, Anaya. And, you know, Alexander Volkov, number 7 in the heavyweight division, 31-8 with 20 knockouts, came so close against Derek Lewis and wasn't able to win that fight. Last time out, he lost to Curtis Razor Blades. Volkov in this fight at minus 160, a favorite over Walt Harris.
Yeah, 2 guys that are just, I mean, they're going to go at it here. Also, Walt Harris had COVID, something to maybe consider. Harris has 2 weaknesses. His cardio isn't great, and I don't know, you know, what kind of wrestler he is here. So he needs, I think, either a quick knockout or he's got to get Volkov down, and he's got to, you know, just dominate the fight that way. Now, Volkov is skilled, a lot of experience, 31-8. His 2 losses are against top-level fighters, better than Harris and Curtis Blades and Derek Lewis. So sometimes you have a couple fighters, maybe 4 or 5 fighters at the top, and then there's a drop-off. I don't think Harris is ever going to get in that top 4 or 5 fighters. I think Volkov is at that level here. So I think he has better cardio. I think he's going to be able to strike. And who knows, if Harris gets tired, I think he might be able to submit him here. I'm going to lay the 150 to 160 and take Volkov here. He gets the win over Walt Harris.
All right, fight fans, here we are. We're getting closer. UFC 254 in Abu Dhabi. Khabib versus Gaethje, Whitaker versus Cannonier. It's time for the co-main event. Our breakdown right here with Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports, giving you 7 picks for $47. That's $30 off his normal price of 7 for $77. He's won 21 out of 27 fight cards since the UFC came back in May in Jacksonville, and he's ready to make you some money right here, right now, as you get ready for the biggest fight card in a long time in the Ultimate Fighting Championship. And Lee, in the co-main, number 1, Robert Whitaker, the Reaper, the former champion, against number 2, Jared Cannonier, the Killer Gorilla, and these 2 guys are unbelievable. Whitaker, the former champ, 21-5, 9 KOs, 5 subs. Cannonier, 13-4, has won his last 3 by TKO. Now, Whitaker, the former champ, lost the belt to Israel Adesanya in 2019, and he admittedly, after his wars with Yoel Romero and running through the entire division, had kind of lost that mental edge that he needed to stay at the top of the game, and we saw it in that fight against Adesanya, but he regained it, speaking of gorillas, against Darren Till over this summer on Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. So he's a veteran and has fought over there, so that's an advantage for the Reaper as well. Meanwhile, the Killer Gorilla mentioned his last 3 by TKO. Huge power. He's fought at heavyweight. He's fought at light heavyweight. Really hit his stride and found a home at middleweight. Coached by John Crouch at the MMA Lab in Arizona. His last win was over Jack Hermanson, and this one promises to not disappoint. So much precision, so much power. Robert Whitaker, the Reaper, the former champ, and Jared, the Killer Gorilla Cannonier. Whitaker minus 110, Cannonier minus 120.
So Cannonier is 36 years old. He starts off as a heavyweight. wasn't the right weight for him, didn't have the right cardio. Then he moves down to lightweight, getting better shape, transforming his body, also working on his skills. And now he's settled in at middleweight where he belonged all along. So this guy I think he's got it all. I think he's getting better. Hermanson, that was his best win to date. And sometimes guys are peaking even at a later age. So he's not the better boxer versus Whittaker. Whittaker's the better boxer, but has much more power. I also spotted something in watching Whittaker. The way he throws punches, he has a little bit of a loop when he throws his punch. And sometimes when you round it off and you come over the top, sometimes you have trouble also with power and also accuracy. So I don't know, even though Whittaker is a better boxer, whether he has the right skill set to beat Cannonier. Cannonier, I think, right now believes in himself, even though Whittaker's coming off that great fight against Till, where he took the best Till had to offer in the first couple rounds and withstood it, ends up winning the fight. Sometimes the guy that's older believes in himself and has maybe the right skill set to face his opponent is the right call. So practically a pick 'em here. I'm going to take Jared Cannonier minus 120. I think he gets the win here, and I think he's going to get that title shot after this win.
Going with the killer gorilla, Jared Cannonier, is Lee Sterling. Now, the one thing that really kind of intrigues me going into this fight, and I think you're underestimating Whittaker's power. He's got great power, incredible striker. We've seen it. He's a champion, and I'm going with Whittaker in this one, Lee. But the question for me is, will Whittaker use his wrestling? And if so, how much? He's a wrestler. He's worked it a lot in this camp, trying to get back to that grind a little bit, and so effective with wrestling, with those takedowns, mixing it in with the strikes, and I think that's going to be a lot for Cannonier. But again, with that power, and sometimes you just see fighters and you think it's their time, but will Robert Whittaker be able to effectively use his wrestling in this fight? That's the question for me.
Well, if he does that, then he's got a shot. This is a tough fight. I just think that Cannonier might catch him. And if he catches him and he wins this fight, boy, the UFC is going to love to see Jared Cannonier against Israel Adesanya. I think that would be a fight that would interest all the big UFC fans out there.
All right, Lee, here we are. Main event, moment of truth, the fight everyone all over the world has been waiting for. UFC 254 in Abu Dhabi. Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov against Justin the Highlight Gaethje. I'm Jim Grieshaber, Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports with our gambling, our odds, our pick segment right here, Cage Side Seat on MMA Weekly. And just for you, we've been telling you throughout the show here, we have a special for you from Lee Sterling, so you can go into battle armed. You can go in ready to take money, to win money, to be the smartest guy at the party or the Fight Watch event that you go to. And that's how we roll right here on the show. Just for you, for our audience, Lee Sterling's going to give you 7 picks for $47. That's normally $77. Save 30 is the code. You save $30. Save 30 at ParamountSports.com. And Lee, on to the main event. 2 guys from the mountains, all the way across the world from one another. Justin Gaethje, the son of 2 miners from Arizona in the mountains of Safford. Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov, the son of a combat coach from Dagestan, right next to Russia, all the way across the world. Khabib, 28-0, is the number 2 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Gaethje, number 7 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, is 22-2 with 19 knockouts, and even when he loses, he gets finished. So every fight he's ever had has finished in a TKO or a knockout. Unbelievable has his career been. The former World Series of Fighting champ. First, let's break down Justin Gaethje. He's locked in. He looks better than ever. He's working with Trevor Whitman, the Elevation Fight team right outside Denver. Ever since he's done that, Whitman's got him calmed down. He's not just a puncher anymore. He's a boxer. He has efficiency with his punches. He keeps his cardio up longer in the fights, and he takes far less punishment than he did even early in his UFC career. He's locked in, looking better than he's ever looked, coming off a huge win over Tony Ferguson when Khabib couldn't make that fight in May, and it was the first fight back for the UFC after the 5 events they missed with COVID. But Justin Gaethje stepping in for Khabib, who was trapped in Dagestan. He had flown to Abu Dhabi, then back to Dagestan, was trapped in the country, couldn't get out, and so Gaethje stepped in and just literally beat the brakes off of Tony Ferguson, ended up getting the finish over El Kukui. Justin Gaethje threw the belt on the ground when he was done. He said, I don't want the interim belt. I'm waiting for the real one. And he told me earlier this year in an exclusive interview that I did with him that eventually he'd face Khabib, that he had nothing but respect for him. And you can check that out here on MMA Weekly as well. Meanwhile, with Gaethje, he had his wrestling coach from college here the whole camp with him working on his wrestling for this fight against Khabib, because we know what Khabib loves to do in there. It's no secret. 28 people have tried to stop his grappling and his wrestling. 28 people have failed. Nurmagomedov, incredible, deceptive stand-up, though. He's got that eagle punch. You saw what he did against McGregor when he rocked him, and he's unbelievable. But the thing about Khabib is his father, Abdulmanap, passed away from COVID complications during the build-up to this fight. And that's something that Khabib's never had to do, is fight without his father being here on the planet with him. Now, he did fight twice in the U.S. when his father had visa issues, including the McGregor fight, without him in his corner. Javier Mendez, his head coach from AKA. Man, you got two of the best coaches in the game, two of the best fighters in this game. Khabib beat Dustin Poirier his last time out, choked him out, and he's been on a roll at 28-0. So Khabib Nurmagomedov, 28-0, Justin Gaethje 22-2. The main event for the undisputed lightweight championship, Khabib minus 350, Gaethje plus 270. A huge underdog. Tough not to take a ride with an underdog like Justin Gaethje with what he brings to the table, albeit against an all-time great in Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov.
Exciting. This is what we've all been waiting for. Gaethje, his style is so much fun to watch. He's probably my favorite fighter. I'm not going to be, I got to let you know how it is. Sometimes your interest and following a fighter can play in how you bet someone. But I'm going to take myself away from it. Studied both fighters a lot. And Khabib may be the most dominant UFC fighter ever, but he has a weakness. I've noticed when he comes in, he leaves himself open. If you watch the Conor fight, there was quite a few times if Conor had anything left in the tank, if he had power, if he had that speed, I think he could have caught Khabib, but he didn't after the first couple rounds. On top of that, Gaethje, a much better cardio and also a much better striker, I believe, than Conor at this point. I think he's gotten better and better. I think he might be able to catch him coming in. I think that we don't know about his takedown defense, but he has such a strong background in wrestling that it wouldn't shock me that if Khabib might get only one takedown in the entire fight if it lasts 4 or 5 rounds. So that's the unknown. You can study all these different tapes and all the fights of both fighters, but they haven't fought anyone like each other, and that's what's going to make it so interesting. The question is Gaethje good enough? Does he have it inside of him to maybe take down the greatest fighter of all time? I think since he made the move to Trevor Whitman, I think he does. He's changed his whole mindset. He's always had the talent, but he was looking to be exciting. It's about winning. And I think Justin Gaethje is going to get it done here. I think he's going to pull the upset. Maybe, Khabib losing his father, maybe traveling here, maybe fighting a fighter he's never fought before, that type of style, and someone who has the heart. I felt that Conor gave up in that fight before. I think that Justin Gaethje is going to pull off the biggest upset and shock the world, plus 270, and be the new lightweight champion.
Oh, Lee, you're riding with me on this one. Lee Sterling, Paramount Sports, going with Justin Gaethje at plus 270. And Lee, I've known Justin since he was 16 years old. Knew him really well when he was the WSOF champ. And over the years, interviewing him and seeing his rise and his progression, he's an elite All-American wrestler from college. He's got his wrestling coach in there in the camp. I think in the middle of the cage, his wrestling will do very well against Khabib. It's up against the cage and up against the fence where Khabib really strangles you and puts you down and just like literally controls your legs with his legs and pins you up against that cage. Gaethje's got to stay out of there. But again, Gaethje, a striker who can put Khabib to sleep with one shot anytime from anywhere in the cage. And that's a type of guy that Khabib hasn't faced in his career at 28-0. A legit highest level knockout artist who's going hunting not only to finish you, but to hurt you, to scramble your brains. He wants to inflict as much damage as possible. We saw what he did to Tony Ferguson, who somehow took all those shots. We saw him lay out James Vick. We saw him lay out Barbosa. We saw him almost finish Poirier and Alvarez. He is a stone-cold killer in there. Justin Gaethje, the highlight. And obviously the big question for Khabib is going to be, not only has he never faced anyone like Gaethje, but how will he respond being without his dad? He's got Javier Mendez in his corner, but the first time that the elder Nurmagomedov, who crafted his son's career from start to finish, coached him from the beginning, put the whole plan forward, and again, will not be here on this earth for his son for the first time. How will Khabib handle that?
It's huge. I mean, to try to overcome that, I don't know if he can. So I think Gaethje's not going to try to, get in his head. I think he's going to try to take away his will. And I don't think that Khabib's ever been punched like this before. And if Gaethje catches him, he's going to keep coming. And I think it's going to be a great fight. I think it's going to go back and forth. I think this thing might go 4 or 5 rounds. It might go to a decision. But I think Gaethje has what it takes. He's that one person that can take Khabib down and beat him.
No doubt, and to that point, Gaethje, we mentioned bringing in his college wrestling coach for this camp. I've seen Gaethje use his wrestling. We haven't seen a lot of it as he's advanced through the ranks and become the WSOF champ and in the UFC, just, knowing where the money's made, just wanting to go in there. And he's the type of dude who loves just banging, going in there and looking for carnage. He loves to just stand and trade, take punishment, give punishment. A unique kind of individual for sure between the years is Justin Gaethje, the highlight, but his wrestling is very good. I've seen him use it on the way up in promotions like Rage in the Cage, where he has controlled everyone he's taken down. He's never been controlled on the ground by anyone. Obviously, at 22-2, his only 2 losses are to Alvarez and Poirier, and those 2 fights he was winning. Both of them, I was cage side for both. So Justin Gaethje clearly does not have as big a disadvantage on the ground as many of Khabib's opponents have, but clearly also Justin Gaethje with a huge advantage on the feet in this fight, more so than Khabib has faced. So it's going to be interesting to me to see Justin Gaethje's style against Khabib, because again, Khabib has not faced a striker, I don't believe, of this level, and he can also wrestle. So different types of challenges presented by Gaethje for Nurmagomedov in this fight.
I would agree, and fights never work out the way usually you think they are. And so I think, who knows, Gaethje might go for the takedown and might get it and might be able to put Khabib away. So there's always a shock in a football game, in a UFC fight, in a basketball game. Never works out the way you think it is. I think Justin Gaethje's, it's all about winning, and he's just looking for any type of weakness and anything he can take advantage of. And like I said, and you brought up, that wrestling might be the difference here. It makes him a cut above anyone else who tried to take on Khabib.
All right, so go with Justin Gaethje, the big underdog. I'm with you, Lee, at +270 over Khabib Nurmagomedov. Man, Gaethje by knockout would be an interesting combo, right? If you bet Gaethje by knockout, the numbers are huge, too. Check the odds on that. It's Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. I'm Jim Grieshaber. Call me Gries. Cage Side Seat, the best MMA talk with the biggest names in the sport from the best seat in the house right here on MMA Weekly, the most trusted name in news and entertainment in mixed martial arts for almost 20 years. And Lee's going with Casey Kenny over Nathaniel Wood. He's going with Stefan Struve over Tai Tuivasa. Ian Kudalaba over Magomed Ankalaev. Lauren Murphy over Lilia Shakarova. Alexander Volkov over Walt Harris. Jared Cannonier, the Killer Gorilla, over the Reaper. Robert Whittaker, the former champ, and the #1 contenders matchup at middleweight. And Justin Gaethje in the unification bout at lightweight over Khabib the Eagle Nurmagomedov. And Lee, why don't you tell our audience one more time about that incredible special you have just for our cage side seat on MMA Weekly Family at ParamountSports.com.
It's available right now on the website, ParamountSports.com. Use coupon code SAVE30. You're going to get 7 selections, not for $77, $47. ParamountSports.com. Or call us here at the office, 800-400-9741. I also do football. Probably one of the premier handicappers in the country, coming off a 10-2 weekend in the college and in the NFL. So we've won 6 or 7 weeks in the football. We do it all here. Football, UFC, basketball. Check us out, ParamountSports.com.
Less than $7 a pick, 7 for $47 for UFC 254. Lee Sterling of ParamountSports.com. Check him out at the website, at the phone number listed right there for Lee Sterling. I'm Jim Grieshaber. Call me Gries. Cage side seat on MMA Weekly. Lee, what a great week this is. What an incredible fight card at UFC 254. Great job breaking it down, my friend. I know you're ready to win some people some money, including me. I'm riding with you as well. Thanks as always, my friend.
Thanks so much, Jim. And you know what? I'm going to go one step further. How about this? We're going to raise the bar. I'm so sure I'm going to make everyone money. If I don't have a winning fight card and they come on board and use that coupon code SAVE30, just $47, they'll get the following week for free. So I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. 7 selections, $47, coupon code SAVE30.
Wow, how about that? Really backing it up, putting your money where your mouth is, Lee. You get the next week free if you're not a winner this week on the UFC 254 picks from Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports, our gambling expert right here on Cage Side Seat on MMA Weekly, the best MMA talk with the biggest names in the sport from the best seat in the house. UFC 254 this weekend, Khabib versus Gaethje. I'm Jim Grieshaber. Thank you so much for being with us as always, and thank you, Lee, my man, for making it happen week in and week out. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Jim.
You got it, my man. Thanks as always. Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. I'm Jim Grieshaber. It's Cage Side Seat on MMA Weekly, the best MMA talk with the biggest names in the sport from the best seat in the house on the most trusted source of news and entertainment in mixed martial arts for almost 20 years, MMA Weekly. We are so excited for UFC 254, Khabib versus Gaethje, Whitaker versus Cannonier. Got all kinds of interviews and content coming your way all week long leading up to that fight. And then, of course, beyond that, as we continue with our partnership together, Cage Side Seat on MMA Weekly. Until next week, folks, keep your game tight and your mind right and get ready for the highlight, Justin Gaethje. We both say he's going to upset Khabib at UFC 254.